Hi everyone, this is Paul Lange from DTS, and I want to introduce to you what you're about to watch. This is one of the DTS impromptu events. It's 30 minutes long. It's a one-hit topic. It was presented live to the free members of Discipline Trading Strategies on August 29th. It's called You Can't Have It Both Ways, and I'm going to discuss a topic that permeates all of trading, but it really starts, and this topic is originally designed to talk about management. This 30-minute event happened to be followed up directly by an event that is not educational. It talks about your options and choices you have if you want to get an education in trading. It's not just about what I offer at DTS, but it's the various choices that you have and places you can go. So after 30 minutes, if you don't want to hear that, there'll be a clear sign telling you to leave. If you do want to hear it, that's about 30 minutes long as well. If you enjoy this, check out the many other educational events, articles, and Trade of the Week videos. You can get access to those at the DTS Free Stuff page. So for now, sit back and enjoy this event. Good evening, everybody. How's it sound? It is exactly 5 o'clock. Well, it was exactly 5 o'clock. It doesn't stay exactly 5 o'clock for very long, but it's still the minute of 5 o'clock. How's the sound out there, everybody? Good afternoon. Good sound 5 by 5. How about everybody else? You guys out there? Try out that keyboard. Get used to typing a little bit. I like asking questions, getting some feedback. Welcome to tonight. This is one of those impromptu sessions I started doing this year. They're just kind of what they sound like. The first Wednesday of every month, I do a full-fledged DTS educational event. So it's once a month now. They're an hour long. They're on various topics. And, when they're done, they go to the free stuff page for, 3 or 4, till 3 or 4 accumulate. Then they go to the platinum page. The impromptu sessions are usually 24-hour notice, just like this one was. I sent out notice yesterday, I think. I come up with a topic. It's a one-hit type topic. It's an important topic. It's too much for an email. I sent out a lot of educational emails. Again, if you're behind or want to see the other educational emails, they accumulate on the free stuff page. There's about a dozen of them there right now. And then the archives of those go to the platinum page. But the impromptu sessions then are supposed to be 30 minutes long. It says on one of these slides we're going to be over at 5:31. I'm going to hold to that. And they're quicker one-hit topics, so they're not quite as extravagant, one point to get across, but nevertheless a very important point. What brings it to my attention to say, hey, let's get together tomorrow and talk about this? Well, usually it's some kind of, I almost want to say frustration in terms of constantly seeing an ongoing problem with people. Remember, I have a lot of students, and I have a lot of people that just talk to me, maybe want to be students. I have a lot of people that'll never be students that email me, ask questions. You see similar patterns and habits because we're all really the same. I was the same. Everybody's the same. Trading humbles everybody to being the same exact person, basically. Very few exceptions to that. So we all go through the same process. There is a title today called You Can't Have It Both Ways. You may or may not know what that means from the beginning. The explanation I gave you in the email may have gave you a better hint to it. I don't just think, I know for a fact that a lot of traders' frustrations come from feeling that they are constantly mishandling situations. This discussion is mostly about management, although it can permeate any aspect of trading. Why do I get to say that I know this for a fact? Well, because I've dealt with myself and I've dealt with tons of other traders over the years. Mishandling the situation often comes from simply not understanding how to trade properly, lack of knowledge. But even many traders who understand well enough to make money may be missing an important concept or decision that they always have to handle, and that's what tonight is about. 31 minutes long. We have a speed limit close to where we live in one of the forest reserves, and the speed limit there is 17 miles an hour. I love that, the precision. And just a reminder, you may not have seen the email, there's only one that went out about it. After this, I'm going to stay and do a little session about education, getting educated in trading. I had an email that went out that was kind of long. I just want to follow up on that, so I'll give you plenty of notice to get away from the screen, turn the computer off, go in another room, maybe get in your car and drive somewhere, just to make sure you don't overhear any of that. All right, here's the first chart we're going to focus on, and this is where I want some feedback because whenever I teach in the seminar program, I try and really encourage people to give answers, to speak up, because you learn better when you think about the question, commit to an answer, whether you're right or wrong. Nobody knows you in this room, but really think about some of these topics because I sit here doing this. I mean, these free events, are just kind of to help people. The truth of it is, yes, somebody may eventually sign up to be in the room or they like me and maybe they take a seminar program down the road. But 99 out of 100 people, I'm just kind of helping. I'm never going to hear from them again. So here it is. And some of this help sometimes may go in the direction of, hey, either learn what you're doing or stop trading. Because, a lot of people that continue to try to learn on their own are just not doing it. They're just not doing it. So figure out what you're doing, or at least understand some of the issues. So here's a question I want to ask you right here. The question, and I reworded this question like 7 times, so read every word. Is this ever acceptable to have happen? Here's what's going to happen. We have a chart. We took an entry in here. I don't care what the strategy is. I don't care what the entry is. It's not the issue. Here's what's going to happen though. We get 2/3 the way to the target. Let's say we're risking $600. So we're up $400 at some point. And then total stop out, full loss of your $600. Question, is this ever acceptable? Comments, full comments, yes, no. I want to talk about this for at least 5 minutes. Is this ever acceptable? Is this ever acceptable to have happen? I got to know. Yes, depends on your management. Okay, now if you're going to give me the answer that depends on your following your plan or following your management, my follow-up question is then, okay, fine, it depends on your plan. Is it acceptable to have a plan that allows this to happen? I'm going to throw it right back at you. So John, yeah, all those, yeah, they're all, there's always the answer for everybody who's in your plan. Yes, and that's a great thing. You have to have a plan, it has to be in your plan. But these questions go beyond that. They're saying, what should your plan say? Is this acceptable to have this happen, whether it's in your plan or not? Yes, yes, yes. I have some no's and yeses. Additional comments. So some people said no. Why do you think it's acceptable to be up $400 and lose $600? Or again, put whatever numbers you're trading at. I mean, you're up $30, you lose 40, whatever it is. Why is it okay to give back money? Now, after this, as I told you, I'm going to do a quick little thing about learning to trade. One of my focuses in that email, I'm taking a little aside here because it pertains to the slide, is that if you're going to learn to trade, you really got to get to know the person that you're going to learn from, because he or she is going to be your mentor, right? And boy, is it important, because I have to tell you, there's a lot of instructors out there, and I know a lot of them, how they teach and what they say. I don't know how well they trade, but I know what they say. And there are some people that would say, some instructors, some people that you go out there that will say to you, this should never happen. I guess I could follow up and say, what if we went even closer to here? Is this ever acceptable to happen? And this is not an opinion, and this is not just my opinion, it's not just a thought. This is an absolute answer which cannot be denied, and I want to make it clear when I say stuff like that. It cannot be denied that, yes, this is acceptable to happen. As a matter of fact, it is a mathematical impossibility that this will not happen to you in some degree or some form. If this is not okay to happen, what is the rule? I mean, what is the rule that prevents that from happening? And obviously, you may have one. And by the way, I'm not saying, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that you're supposed to let everything go to its target or stop out. That's all or nothing trading. That may be what you want to do. I'm not saying, but what I'm saying is this person followed the rules. They followed their management, and maybe something was going to trigger, something was going to happen where they would lock some profits or take some profits or bring the stop up. So I'm not saying that they're trading without rules or anything like that. I'm saying that doing what they did, they ended up with a trade that was profitable and went to a loss. And is that okay to do? And the answer is just mathematically, I think I put it as an immutable rule of trading, that you can't prevent this from happening sometimes, right? Because if it's not, what's the rule? I did not ask you if you're sad or frustrated or mad. Everybody is. I am, right? The question is it acceptable to have that happen? Is it okay to change a rule on all trades to save this one? So whatever we do to save this trade, right? If you look back and say, oh, that's never going to happen to me again. Okay. Well, is there any way, everybody, is there any way that you would have special knowledge to know that this one trade was going to happen to? The last 45 trades you did, they goofed around and they made it to target or you locked some money. This one just fell really quick before it triggered any management. Is there any way that you would know that's going to happen? Any way at all? Even if you're a really good trader, if you're a super trader, if you're a trade, yeah, right, there's absolutely no way, right? So let's get that answer off the table, right? You can't just tell, and this is, when I talk with people that are stubborn about this, they don't realize it, but their answer actually comes down to, oh, yeah, well, I wouldn't let it happen on that one. Well, that's ridiculous, right? You can't say that. Nobody knows when it's just going to happen. And this doesn't happen a lot, but it happens. What would you even do to say that? So if you did go back and say, all right, I can't take that. That's unacceptable. I'm going to stop this from happening. Well, you have to come up with some rule. Now, how do you stop this from happening? Let's just play devil's advocate here and say, how would I stop this? Okay, well, all right, here's a rule. I was more than halfway to my target, right? So here's my new rule to prevent this. If I'm ever more than halfway to target, I'll raise my stop to the low of the prior bar. Oh, okay. Well, guess what? That would have locked in some profit on this one. Nice job, right? What's the problem with that logic? What's the problem with that logic? I'd have to agree with this person. They came up with a new plan that would have saved this trade. Well, what about the last trade that did this? And the one before that did this, right? In other words, in order to save this one trade, you may be cutting your profit tremendously, right? Yeah, and I'm not even, yeah, Mark, I'm not trying to get into, normal, I'm just getting into pure logic, really. It's not even a chart issue. It's not what should your plan be. It's not how much of a pull is okay. The thing is, right, my point I think you get is no matter what you do, you could be doing more damage than good by trying to save that one trade. I got to pull out a line that's on the next slide. I know it's on the next slide, but I feel like saying it now. And that is, the Army has, or the military has a saying, right? No man is left behind, right? Now, I actually never served the military. I don't know how literal that is, but I see some flaws in that, at least as a trader, right? If there's a wounded man out there and you send 10 guys out there to take care of me and all the 10 guys die, well, that's not a very good plan. And I really don't know. I'm not trying to discredit a rule in the military. I probably have it wrong anyhow. But you understand what I'm saying? As a trader, we don't do that. We don't throw good money after a trade to save one trade because that's what you end up doing, right? Exactly, Craig. That's exactly the point here. And you're taking the words out of my mouth with my next line, but that's perfect because then, Craig or anybody, how do you know what the aggregate result would be? How do you know what the aggregate result is? Again, devil's advocate. This person says to me, "Oh, well, okay, I know if I do make my stop under the low of that bar, that's going to make me money in general. I know it." How do you know that, everybody? What gives you the right to even be in this discussion? Talking about your own trades. You do know this one. You can know this one. Most people don't. Exactly. You have to go and ask that question. People talk about back testing strategies. It's a waste of time. You can believe me, don't believe me, I don't care. If you have a little program to back test strategies, you might as well be watching reruns of some old TV show because you'll make more money doing that. You can't back test strategies. Right. What you want to back test are your own trades. So you go back and you look at your trades and you say, okay, this was unacceptable to me to have happen. What do I do about it? Well, here's something I could do. I could do this. I could use the low of that bar once I get halfway there. I could use the last pivot. I could go to break even, which is a ridiculously stupid rule. You can come up with all these things, but here's what you do. You say, okay, what if I did that? What effect would it have had on my last 20 trades? What would have happened? This is where you spend your time in your research, not with stupid backtesting of strategies and not reading news and reading earnings reports that are completely worthless and meaningless to you and not reading economic news. This is where you make your money by asking this question because I can't tell you because trading at some level becomes personal, right? There's a structure and there's a plan and there's how we trade, but then at some level it becomes personal, how you want to do things. It could be that a perfectly legit trading style would have been to take half your profit there, right? And then maybe you have a plan. But whatever it is you do, your style is unique. Some people are taking 1-minute breakout plays. Some people are taking 60-minute buy setups with a be the tail entry. You can't say that there's a single management plan that works for people. So you have to go and actually check out what if. What if I did this? How would it have affected my last 20 trades? Now, if there is a statistician in the room, I can't believe I said that word properly so easily. You may say to me, oh, 20 is not acceptable. You're right, it's not for statistics. But you know what? If you look at 20 trades for real, you know what? You're going to know. Trust me, you'll just know. You'll just know. No matter what rule you come up with, right? No matter what you say, that new rule could miss triggering by a penny, right? Let's say I decide, let's say for some reason that turns out to be true. If I'm halfway to target, I should go back and start trailing on the last bar. Let's say that turns out to be actually a good rule for the way I trade, right? Well, what happens on the next trade if I come a penny short of halfway to target and it collapses? What do I do now? Do I change my rule again and say, okay, 1 penny short of halfway is the new rule? You see what I'm saying? You could sit here, and this is where this title comes from partially. You can't have it both ways. You can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't get to every target and then also lock in every penny of profit along the way, which is really the meaning of the title of this presentation tonight. What is the goal of management? Can anybody tell me the goal of management? What is the goal of management? An average 60-minute video goes down to 54 minutes after I edit it because they're cutting out all the silence when I ask a question. Bill, I'm glad you said that, but I'm just going to give you an absolutely wrong. That is not the goal of management. That is the goal of your trade strategy, right? That's the goal of your trade to get to the target. That's not the goal of management, believe it or not, right? To maximize profit, okay, that's acceptable. Loss control, maintain profit to maximize your profits to keep you in the trade. Well, okay. How about this one? It's the balance between getting to full targets and protecting some profit if you don't get to your target. If we knew we were getting to a target every time, we don't need to do anything. As a matter of fact, it can be a very lucrative management style to pretend you are getting to your target and act that way no matter what. Wayne, I'm glad you said that. And again, I don't want to be mean, but that's absolutely incorrect. And this is one of the biggest things I harp on. Your goal is not to minimize risk. Well, it depends what you mean by risk, but it's not to minimize losses. If you mean risk losses, there's no way to minimize risk in my view. You take a trade, you risk X number of dollars. Risk to me only beyond a risk amount only comes into play when you're talking about holding things overnight that could gap against you, trading biotech stocks, et cetera, like that. But we have a risk amount, and there is no risk beyond that, really, right? You take a trade, you lose $500, you make $1,000, you make $300, whatever it is. Our goal is not to minimize losses. You got to be careful with that. There's nothing wrong with minimizing a loss, but there is something wrong with having the goal of minimize losses because that's what a lot of people do. And if you have a goal of minimizing losses, I assure you that you will accomplish that goal. And you're going to have a whole string of small losses, and it's not what you want to do. So the goal is to hit that balance, right? We don't know if we're getting to target, and we don't know what trades are going to get to target. We have a certain confidence level that we will get to targets. And the concept of evaluating your management dynamically and constantly to see how you're doing is important. Not counting my seminar students, I know for a fact 95% of people do absolutely nothing that would be considered to me the most important thing they could do in terms of following up in their management to see how they do. All of you listening to me, if you're not seminar students, I'll bet you anything you want, none of you go back and do what I just said. You just trade. You don't even have a management plan. Anybody guilty? You just wing it, right? You get in a trade. I'm up some money. I'll take it. Oh, I don't like how it pulled back. It's dynamically trading, right? Anybody want to admit that? Most people do that. It's not a big admission. Most people do. It's called seat of the pants management. You'll never be a successful trader if that's what you do. Next slide. Next slide. So my point I started to get to was that no matter what you do, no matter how much you try and avoid this, some trades will always fall through the cracks. Does everybody agree with that? Because that's a good starting point to help your management. No matter what you do, there will always be a trade that falls that you're not going to like it because no matter what you do to prevent it, it's going to be a penny off, a penny too much. This or that. It happens to me once in a while. Just, once in a while, something I was like, oh man, how can I let that happen? You go, I had to. If I didn't let that happen, that trade 2 days ago wouldn't have made that much money, and the one tomorrow is not going to make money. So we just don't have that. Funny story about this. This is a little copy and paste from the seminar program. There's a bunch of little tips in there. They're not a big deal, but in a weird way, they are a big deal. I cannot believe I've had, and this is something if you would have said to me at the beginning of DTS how many people would say this to you, I would have said 0, right? I would have said 0. But I've had probably 6, 8, 10 people say this to me, and that's when I tell you what it is. It's an extremely unusual large amount. What they said to me is that these little tips, even though I took the seminar program, reading one of those tips, not just this one, this was one of them, changed their trading career. Reading one tip, in other words, it clicked with them. You know what I'm saying? And this is one of them that somebody emailed me and said, love the seminar program and all that, but when I read that one little tip, just a little light bulb went off in my head. Like, what am I doing? You can't reach maximum targets and preserve every penny of profit at the same time. Again, this is really what the title of tonight is. You can't have it both ways, because this is what most novice traders try to do. When they start managing, they start seeing they're having problems, they're just starting to bleed slowly, if you will. What happens is, well, it's on the next slide, I think, right? Yeah. They drive themselves crazy. They're bleeding slowly week after week. And when you're bleeding slowly, what does that make you do in your management? Do you get more aggressive taking profits, or do you get more likely to follow a plan? What happens when you start slowly losing? Do you get more aggressive to take profits, or do you more aggressive to follow a plan which may not have it? Right. You want to take profits sooner and sooner, which of course usually is the problem. Usually is the problem. Psychologically makes it more and more they want to take profits. They leave the nice winners on the table. So the plan, right, and here's where the split comes. You can't have it both ways. The plan, the mental plan only, in other words, here's what I'm going to do from now on. There's no real structure to it, is I'm going to let those winners go. But they're sitting there watching the trade, and they just cannot do it. Now, I want a real one on the screen from people. How many people in the past or currently can just relate to this? I just can't do it. I just can't leave my hands off that trade. I can't let it go. Anybody? Yeah. Everybody. Me too. Been there still sometimes, That's why day trading, as you know, you people in the room, I leave the screen for an hour at a time. Sometimes I leave the screen for the rest of the day, because that's what makes me the most money. Now, I could come back one day and somebody say, "Oh, Paul, if you were sitting here, blah, blah, blah." Well, no, you know what? That doesn't matter. Over time, unquestionably, for me, it does. Now, that doesn't mean it's true for everybody. But it is probably true that you would do better leaving the screen. Maybe if you're a smaller time frame trader, maybe you leave for 10 minutes. Maybe you leave for 30 minutes. Maybe you leave for 2 or 3 hours, whatever it is. If you have a management plan, even if you're a smaller time frame trader and you get into something, and you have your stop in place, so that's golden, right? And maybe you have your target offered out, that's golden. And in between, the formation you need in order to change your stop or to start protecting profits, it can't happen for 12 minutes. Or in my case, often it can't happen for 90 minutes or 2 hours. Well, why are you sitting there? I mean, you could be doing other trades, but for this one trade, if there's nothing that could possibly happen in the next 30 minutes that would make you take action based on your plan, why are you even sitting there? Because all you get, and what do I say to the room all the time I get up? I'm going to leave because I can only screw it up from here forward. Why is it that they just can't do it? That was the question, right? They watch the trade, they just can't leave it alone, and they continue to mess with it. Why is that the problem for so many people? Any suggestions on that one? I have about 30 seconds to give you, and then we're going to run out of time. Why is it people just can't do it? Yeah, Mark? Yeah, I think you've been here before. That's the number one thing. It's a lack of confidence, right? We'd forced to take responsibility. Yeah, it's to me, it's the lack of confidence. It's the lack of confidence, because if you're not sure a trade will get anywhere near the target you've picked, or you've picked some pie in the sky target just to justify the trade in your plan, or mentally or emotionally, you don't have any real confidence you're going to get there. And there's a good chance you don't have the confidence you're going to get there because you don't have the skill to even know if this is really a good trade or if you're going to get there, right? And even if you have conquered those first two, even if you do have some pretty good trading skills, and even if you say, yeah, you know what, I'm pretty confident I'm getting there, here's the third one that I got to tell you, you put me in front of any trading group and I'll make any bet you want. 90% don't have any kind of management plan. They just don't. So here's the next problem is, I don't care how skilled you are, how good you are, if you don't have a plan of how to get from point A to point B, number one, you're not going to do it correctly. Number two, how can you ever improve on your management process if you don't have a process? Does that make sense to everybody? I say that a lot about trading plans in general. How can you improve on your management process if you can't even define your process? In other words, if you just go out and wing it on Tuesday and you wing it on Wednesday, and one day you made money, one day you lost money, what do you do on Thursday to improve? You can't, because you're just winging it. So confidence, which comes from, does that say that somewhere on here? So somewhere it says confidence comes from first getting the skill and then getting repetitive success at low levels so you can handle it. And that's what builds your confidence. So if you have those two things, you got a good start. But then to get your confidence along the way, you have a plan of how you're doing this. And that's what most people just don't have, right? And then why aren't people able to do it? Because once you kind of start this downward spiral, is what I call it, it self promotes it. It's like a snowball effect. You just keep getting worse because the more you're struggling, the more you feel that need to lock some money. But if you're $900 winners, you're locking $200, you're not going to make money because you're going to have losers along the way. And that's what people end up with. Instead of getting a $1,000 winner and then a $500 loser, then an $800 winner and a $300 loser, what happens is they start just everything's, I locked 200 profit. Oh, I'm going to kill this at a $200 loss. You just go back and forth like that. And I know some of you know exactly what I'm talking about because we're all the same. Everybody's been there. Let me very quickly, I have 3 minutes. I want to, like I always do, I want to not prove it, but I want to just personalize it. I'm going to give you an example of me, the bad and the good. Here's the bad. Here's my bad. And these are both from this week. Monday, because I was guilty of this myself, having it both ways. It's a little different topic, but it's the same thing. Monday, Tuesday, 27th. Tuesday, I put, I write a daily market letter and I give a market advice in the letter. And the advice I gave that day was to buy that dip here. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was just a perfect call. It was to go long here. Most of the days recently I haven't had really a bullish bias, but it started off saying bullish bias today and we go long here. In the room, right, roomies, I called this low. I always say within the minute, within 1 bar, whatever it was. I called this low perfectly, right? How did I do that day? How did I do that day? Well, I lost because my trading style is to have a market bias and then to take a trade that exemplifies the bias or exasperates it. In other words, maybe my long will work even if the market doesn't go higher. And maybe my long will do better than the market, right? But what I do is if the market is perfect, I'll go with the market. So what were my comments that day after this happened? In writing the next day and in the room, what did I say? Mark, you probably know. I said, man, I had the perfect market bias and I took a stupid stock, kind of complaining about it, right? And I said I should have gone with the market. But I'm guilty of what I'm talking about, right? You can't have it both ways. Paul, 9 times out of 10, you go with the stock and that's what works for you, right? Today, you didn't go with the stock and now you're saying, oh, you should have gone with the market. Well, yeah, everything's great in hindsight. Yes, I have kind of a rule where if I have 100% conviction in the market, I should go with the market. I didn't do it. So maybe I made kind of a mistake. It's a very gray area, because that's not something that you can define, that precisely. It's a little bit of the idiot deciding. So I probably made the wrong decision doing that. But you see what I'm saying to me? This is the same thing. And you can drive yourself nuts with this, right? And the answer is just to understand what you're doing. And for me right now, I'm telling you guys, I was guilty of this because I can't have it both ways. I can't claim victory for having a perfect market call and then complain that what I normally do doesn't work, right? Same thing. But let's look the bad, the good. Today, the good. And this is exactly what I'm talking about. Today is a perfect example, so I had to put it in here. Shorted NVIDIA today. I had no intention of shorting NVIDIA today, right? They did their earnings. The whole world's looking at them. Everybody's looking at NVIDIA. I stay away from that crap. I could care less. It wasn't on my hot list. Of course, I looked at it because it's a big name doing earnings. And either Mark, I said I put it on a back burner chart, right? Wasn't that interesting. But then it just set up so nice. So I shorted it right up in here somewhere, 10 o'clock-ish, right? You know what my target was? End of the day. I checked in several times. As a matter of fact, you can go check the room. It's still open, right? What did I say right in here? Or right in here? I said, we're sitting on the prior lows, but you know what? I'm pretty sure it's lower. End of the day. I didn't take any money until we hit that bottom right there, which was the low of the day. So where do you get the confidence to say that? My point is just, I'm not bragging, of course. I'm just making this a point of what I'm talking about today, right? That for the average trader, probably out there, right? Probably out here. right? Or who knows where. So if you don't have the skill, knowledge, confidence, so I put there, what made me hang on to it? Knowledge, skill, confidence, whatever it was. And I'm wrong sometimes, obviously. I may be piggy on this and it turns out, oh, I gave back a lot of money. I shouldn't have done that. But that just comes down to your trading skill and your knowledge and what you want to do. But part of the point today is, even to me, the average trader, even if they agreed with me and said, oh, end of the day, yeah, and Nvidia's going to drop all day, would they really have done it? Would they have made it to the end of the day, or would they have sat there and got out right there, or got out right there? That little tail broke across the prior highs. That's the point. That's it. A week. We're doing something new. I'm going to talk about it in the upcoming couple of minutes here, but just as part of this program, just letting you know, the next event we're doing is going to be a shortened version of the intro class. Now, as you know, normally seminar program, 3 Saturdays in a row, 1 Saturday for each course, and the first Saturday I do the intro class 4.5 hours on the Friday before. Started something new, haven't done it yet, we're going to start it this time, and that is I'm still going to do the full day presentations of the courses, but in between I'm going to do a 1-day Super Saturday where I'm going to go through all 3 courses on one Saturday, and prior to that I'm going to do a shortened intro class. So it's going to be on Thursday evening, not Friday afternoon. So it's a 90-minute summary, trying to hit the highlights. So the schedule looks like that. Thursday, September 5th, a shortened version. Saturday is going to be Super Saturday. All right, so there's that, and that's the end of this presentation. So I am going to proceed now to a discussion about learning to trade. So anyone not interested, anyone already in the seminar program, anyone not interested, I'm giving you fair warning. I'll even give you 30 seconds to just clear out, get out of here. Don't be anywhere within earshot of this. I know for a lot of people you don't even want to hear this. That's fine. You're welcome. Hope you enjoyed that. I thought it was a great topic. That's why I did it. Still a lot of people hanging around. But last call, get out of here. I'm going to be talking, and this is not like a sales. I'm not here like talking into my seminar program. This is really supposed to be I will talk about my seminar program, but this is more just valuable advice about learning to trade in general. And it's kind of following. As a matter of fact, I'm going to use the email I send out because it was a long email. It's probably a little confusing. I was going to do a flow chart, and I may do it for the future sometimes. So the first thing I want to point out is that I think I've been a little negligent in actually explaining to people what the home study program is. And so I made a whole web page that describes this better and sent this email about the home study. I'm not going to read it all to you, but the home study is part of the seminar program, number one. It's not a separate entity. To answer somebody's question who asked me, you can buy the seminar program you can buy the home study for the price of the seminar program and throw out the live classes if you want. The new procedure to me since this is not always around. This came out 3 years ago, I think. And this took a lot of time to develop. I mean, this is not just recording the classes. This is me doing a separate presentation by myself, going through the classes like I normally would, but also adding a lot of other information. The correct procedure really for anybody signing up to learn with me, and I'm doing this first, but I really should do, I think I did this in the wrong order. But the other focus here, I want to talk about learning to trade in general. So the home study you do first. Take the home study. Like if you're going to sign up now, you do it, take the home study and go through the courses on your own time in the evenings, wherever they are. It's a professional learning management system, a professional LMS system. It's done in conjunction with a company called CoreAchieve that does these for corporations and for colleges and everything. So you can start and stop and do whatever. There's some pictures here. This allows you to kind of go at your own pace, to review, to go back and do whatever you want to do. For some people, it may be all they're able to do because they can't attend Saturdays because I have some people that study, they're in India and the time doesn't work out well for them, and somebody's in Australia and blah, blah, blah. So it's not convenient for them. Some people are doing other things on Saturday they just can't do it. So this would be your only avenue, would be to take the seminar program. The ideal thing, though, is to do both because there is a negative to home study, and that is it's been shown that people don't learn quite as well. So what I really recommend for people is to go through the program 3 times. And there's now 3 different ways you can do it. 1, home study, do that first. Number 2, the Super Saturday, which is coming up a week from Saturday. And then number 3, take the final review or do it the second time, go through each course one at a time on a full day Saturday. Something I came to realize, and the reason the Super Saturday started is because I think there's a lot of people that are turned off about the amount of time. Now, my first answer to that is tough. It's too bad. Do you want to learn or do you not want to learn? I can't help what time it takes to learn. But I think that for a lot of people, everybody learns a little differently, and I think having that ability to have all the classes one day, I think, is a great jump for a lot of people. So we'll see how that works out. When you get to home study, all your classes are there. It's a typical thing. You have your whole outline here. You can jump around, hop around, skip around. There's tests and quizzes. There are additional things I added to the seminar program that aren't in the live classes, and every home study course is really 110% of a live course. Why? Well, because when I do the live courses, oftentimes I go down a certain trail a little bit more, somebody asks a question, and I try to accumulate all those notes and put them all into the home study. So the home study, in a sense, is really more than any one class. You can expand the screen to full, forward, reverse, all that good stuff like you normally would expect to do, okay? So there's that. And this email was sent to you, but if you want the link to it, I'll send you the link here real quick. And this next one is going to be, I think, an interesting discussion. And feel free to jump in any questions, comments you have here. The second one is about getting educated in general in trading. And I want to talk to you from a perspective of just being, your buddy, your coach, or your counselor, not necessarily saying that I'm here to, offer you the DTS seminar program. Obviously, I do teach that. I think it's the greatest thing you could do. But let's just talk in general about the choices that you have. And that was the title of this email, the choices you have in trading. First question you have to answer is, again, forget me, forget DTS, is should you get some kind of education? Now, this is where I can maybe help share some experience and some knowledge. I think you're a fool if you don't. Now, again, don't like me, great, go somewhere else, that's fine. But I think you're a fool if you don't, because the final straw to me was, and I haven't told the story in a little while, but I have always made myself available to people who are not signed up for anything at DTS, that are learning on their own. I told them I'd answer their emails, in some cases maybe get together with them for a few minutes, and I had a lot of people take me up on that. I had 30, 40, 50 people over time, over a year and a half, 2 years, that were taking advantage of that and, trying to learn. And a few of the people I thought, wow, they're really, I think they're maybe catching up. And, over time, you ever notice how you don't notice that you're not hearing from somebody, right? Until like their name comes up, you go, oh my gosh, I haven't heard from that person. Well, I sort of just kind of realized, some of these, I'm hearing from people all the time, but what about that last guy and that last guy? And I just kind of, I obviously, I just kind of saved all these people in a folder on my email. It doesn't take any great organizational skill to do that. And I just sent them a group email, obviously, the right proper format, but just saying, hey, it's not to you personally, but just, you're one of a group of people I was working with. How's it going? What are you doing? 0 people succeeded. I mean, 0. Now, I have to assume if I didn't hear from somebody that they didn't succeed. Some people I didn't hear from. I heard from back about a third of the people. And they all just said they've moved on to something else. No success, trying to learn on their own. So I just want to share that with you. And that doesn't surprise me. I think it's difficult because learning to trade is not common sense. There's a lot of things that are just not intuitive at all. So number one question is, yes, I think that if you plan on managing your own accounts, I think if you plan on day trading to make some extra income, if you plan on day trading to let that take over as being a major income source for you, all the above, I think you need to get some kind of education, okay? So that's just step one to me, whatever you do. Now, the second point I want to make in here is one that I am probably the best authority on from anyone anywhere in the planet probably, and that is, where should you get an education at? Again, coming from the attitude you don't like me, that's fine. I think you should find somebody like me, a mentor, an individual that enjoys teaching, that does well trading, not a company. Now, here's why. I think most of you know, I opened DTS 7 years ago. Before that, I was the head of education for what was in one time probably the biggest educational company around, Pristine. They were big. And I was the head of education for them. And there's some pros and cons to a big company, but they are mostly cons. And I want to make sure that you are aware of this. And that's what this email said. It turned out to be a really long email. So I just want to just sit with anybody who wants to listen to me and let you ask any questions that you want to. I'm just here to help you and answer questions and, not holding anything back. So if you're going to poke around at other companies, I'm sure a lot of you are, the average person for me they're probably around 6 to 12 months before they take a seminar. The people that do take seminar programs, it's not, some people just come and instantly sign up, but most people are, they know ahead of time. Some people are selling a business, some people are planning, to start 6, 9 months ahead of time. So most people I kind of know and hear from for a while before they sign up. But if you're looking around a lot, which common sense anybody would, you look at what's out there. I want to caution you first of all that this is the most scam-filled business in the world. It just is. If you want to talk to me about other people you've talked to, I would gladly do that with you. Don't be embarrassed to say, oh, Paul, I'm looking at this other guy to get an education. It's fine. I know some people. I don't ever really badmouth people, but there are 2, 3 people that are scam artists, and I know that for a fact, and I would tell you that. And the other thing I could just maybe just give you some comments on what they say or what they offer or what they're doing. I've had some people do that, and they thought my comments were much appreciated because I pointed out some things that just didn't make sense. But one of the things you want to ask is whatever you're considering signing up for, and typically you're going to be signing up for a cheap class, $200 to $900, right? Because this is the marketing plan, is that you get people to sign up. Took me way over a year of emails before I signed up. Should have. Okay. Well, thanks, John. John is a seminar student. One of the things you will get is, you're going to get this cheap class. Here's the marketing plan for, any big company. I don't have this. I'm the opposite. I tell you up front, here, either commit to being a trader or don't. Here's the seminar program, take it or don't take it, right? That's what I tell you. I'm not, I don't even have a salesperson, right? I just try and impress people. People want to learn from me. They come to learn from me. I don't care who does or doesn't. I have fun doing this. But here's what a bigger company does. They offer the class, and they will imply that this will teach you how to trade, right? $400, $900, whatever it is. And then when you take the class and you're not successful after 2 or 3 months, and you talk to people, they go, oh, you know what? Yeah, you need the advanced version. You need whatever their next name is, whatever the next name is. And so that's why I want you to ask up front is to say, what is your total curriculum? If I just want to take everything you have, what would it cost me? There are at least 3 companies out there still I know where the total price tag is $25,000. And I also want to warn you that a lot of the stuff you end up learning is worthless material. It may all be worthless, but you start getting what I call filler material, right? They can say, oh, well, we have over 200 hours of material. I have 6 or 7 courses in my computer that I could teach if I wanted to, beyond what I teach. They're worthless to me. I think they're worthless to teach because those other 6 or 7 courses wouldn't, in my mind, would not even add 5% of useful information to what I teach. Well, Paul, why not add 5%? Can anybody answer that question? If I told you that I could triple the information that I give you and it would add 5% to your learning, what's the downfall to that? What's the negative? Because the negative outweighs the positive 100 to 1. What's the negative? The negative is that it just becomes a cluttered mess. In other words, you don't know, here's the 95% that matters and here's 5%, kind of the whole, in other words, let me draw on the screen. Here's the seminar program, right? That's all you need to know to trade from me. Here is 2.5 times the information I could add to the seminar program, and it would add this much knowledge, right? But the problem is when you add this much knowledge and now it's all one big blob, you're no longer really sure, right, what was the good stuff and what's the superfluous stuff, right? I could teach you about intermarket analysis. I could teach you about all kinds of crap that really, other than at a cocktail party, you're never going to use, right? Barry got the right? So that's the problem. And that's why I say I teach you what you need to know exactly and precisely, because all the rest of the stuff, again, at a cocktail party, great, but it's just going to confuse and conflict you all the time. Over analysis leads to paralysis, and it just doesn't make any sense. So be careful of that, what you're learning. Ask the company who will be teaching you. Many times you're learning from someone who is learning from someone who is learning from someone. And I'm not making that up. That's the way a company works, right? Here, it's me, obviously, right? It's me, it's Paul. You're never going to come and show up on a Saturday class and be somebody else there. So be very careful of that because it makes a huge difference. And again, this company's deceased, so I don't care what I say, but we had people teaching classes, We're not qualified to teach classes. I just got to tell you honestly, not even close. I had instructors asking me questions that I was embarrassed they're asking them. Ask the company who wrote the material that you will be learning. If the creator is not teaching the material, it is possible you will not be getting 100%. It is possible you have questions not answered 100% accurately. In other words, I wrote this, right? When you go to a company, some guy wrote it, and now he taught somebody who taught somebody who taught somebody how to teach it. And you know what? No chance. There's no chance. You can repeat the words on the screen. Well, thanks, Dave. I'm I've all seminar people. I'm really here just trying to, to offer some real help to people who are looking around. I just want to raise these flags because I'm very familiar with big companies, and I just, can't say enough. I don't think it's the way to go at all. I can't emphasize enough that if somebody's teaching something somebody else wrote, I mean, sure they can read the words on the screen. Sure they probably got some inside trading on it. But you cannot possibly expect them to really be training you in how to make money. You're just getting trained on a basic concept of technical analysis. That's all it is. Ask if there's a home study and if live courses have unlimited retakes, of course. There are some companies that charge you for every time you take a retake. I mean, it's like, how can you on one hand say, what I say to you is, when you sign up, you have my full commitment to get you to learn. Full commitment, right? And there's people, I mean, I don't close this room. I don't hide the people that are here. I don't restrict the comments. There are people that are here that are in my seminar program, and if I was telling a lie, they would right now, right? One of you would stand up and say, "Oh, wait a minute, Paul, you're not there for me. I tried to get help." Somebody asks me a question, we get together within 24 hours, blah blah blah, whatever it is. I make it my commitment. I take pride in teaching people how to trade. If you go to a place and they say, "Oh, you want to retake the course, that's going to cost you extra money." I'm like, my God, you have to hear this material 2-3 times. It's just, to say that I'm going to charge you to hear the information again is saying, I'm just spitting in your face saying, I'm not here to help you. I'm here just to make money from you. And then of course, if you are ready, to sign up, and again, we never have sales at DTS. Why? Well, number one, I don't degrade the product by saying, oh, now it's time for a sale. And number two, I don't want to pressure people. I mean, occasionally I try and get people who are ready to sign up to say, hey, you know what, like right now is a great time to sign up because we have the Super Saturday coming up in a week, whatever. You have time to go through the home study, all that kind of good stuff. So that's it. Let me know if you have any questions. You may have any questions or comments you want to add. The rest is just if somebody here is new. Well, I can't believe there's that many people here. What's the matter with you people? Don't you have something else to do? For some of you that are new, and by the way, DTS continues to just grow. I mean, from the free services point of view, we are just continuing to grow every week. Just a lot of some natural attrition, YouTube videos. There's a little bit of advertising I do, just a very, very small amount, just to keep new people coming in. But so for those, if you're brand new, I want to also make sure you understand that there are tons of free resources for you. The free stuff page, special events, education emails. You should have gotten plenty of emails about that when you signed up. I do see, it appears, I don't know who people are, but I think there's a lot of new people here. And in addition to that, there is a little stepping stone. It's a $200 or $250 upgrade to be a platinum member where you get access to all of the archive material. And again, this is for somebody before you're taking a seminar program, or if you're trying to learn on your own, gives you access to all the prior events I do, like the one I did tonight. They go back 7 years, Trade of the Week videos, all kinds of good stuff. So there's a platinum membership. It's a lifetime membership for $250. How different is DTS from TPO and TPF2? Great question. Obviously, somebody goes back to Pristine. Well, let me do this first of all. I'm not really sure. Is there anybody here who is in the DTS seminar program that way back did Pristine? Is it worth it, John, because it's light years beyond Pristine? leading, Your Honor, he's leading the witness. It is, let me explain it this way, Ahmad, because I get the question sometimes. No question about it. Technical analysis is technical analysis in its basic form, Ahmad, right? I mean, the names are there. We have support, we have resistance, and blah, blah, all that good stuff, okay? But at what level you understand it and how it is taught makes a world of difference, in my view. My first course, Mastering Technical Analysis, when you get the manual, you'll look at it and you'll say, oh, Paul, I've seen a lot of this stuff. Okay. I can't change the names, but what I can teach is how it is taught. Everything I do is in an effort to get you to understand the chart in a way to make money, not just to sit around having conversations at a cocktail table. Also to clarify, Ahmad, just in case you're wondering, this is my company. Back there, TPM and TPM 2 days, I was not the owner. I did not have say-so in doing stuff. I did not write TPM1, although I did make great efforts to try and change a lot of it. I didn't write TPM2. TPM2 is a hot mess, even though it had some, okay stuff in it, but it was a hot mess in terms of being useful to make money. And there were tons of stuff I tried to change them on. I wasn't allowed to change. That company was run by the salespeople. I don't know if that makes sense to you or not, but it was run by the salespeople. And things were left in and things were said in a way to promote people to take the class more so than to teach it. Now, don't get me wrong, I wouldn't have been there teaching there as one of the teachers if I didn't think it was the best place out there. But it's a big company and they had to do what they had to do. Over the years, I accumulated, I think, the knowledge and ways to do things different. So my first course, while a lot of things, the names are there, I think it is infinitely more advanced and useful. Course number 2, most of that information is all brand new. It's brand new to anywhere, any place, because there's things that I developed. Part of the last half of the day you may have heard if you took MA, if you took, I don't even know the name of the class anymore. If you took AMS there, which it doesn't sound like you did, a little bit of that is in my second class, but the rest of my second class is stuff that is not really taught anywhere that I'm aware of. It's all what I would consider to be, I always talk about the two classes as being complementary or joined. The first course is structure. You still with me out there? Since I'm answering you. The first class is structure. It's what prices always do. Okay? It's the analogy I actually use is like building a house, right? You build a house to start with, you have to pour a foundation. It has to be X inches thick. You have to put up 2x4s and they have to be 16 inches apart or whatever your local codes are. The plumbing has to be this. At some point, if you go look at a house, Ahmad, every house is the same structurally, right? That to me is what the first course is to say, look, this is the structure of price action. And the whole first course is about this always happens. This you're never allowed to do. This is never, it's all absolutes because that's what structure is. In class 2, to take the housing analogy, in class 2, we're picking out our countertops, we're hanging wallpaper. Class 2 are all the complementary things that really make money for you. In other words, all of the classes you referred to, Ahmad, are kind of all just in the first category, right? The way I put it is on my homepage, if you scroll down to warning, it kind of answers the question, well, can you just take the first course? And I don't promote that at all because I think either learn to trade or don't. And if you just take the first course, the way I phrase it is you'd have to be incredibly perfect and amazing and lucky to make money. It takes more than that. And that's what course 2 is about. It ties to the first course in a way to say, okay, we have the structure. How do we make money with that knowledge now? And then course 3 is gaps, because gaps are just completely different critters. Gaps deviate from the normal rules of technical analysis that you learn in the first class, in most cases. So it actually then distinguishes itself from being a separate class because gaps go through all the time frames. I mean, gaps can be great for day trading at 9:30 in the morning. They can be great for day trading on day 2. They can be great for swing trading. They can be great for long-term investing, all that stuff. And then add to that, I'm on the home study course. We get together also and do a practical application review day. I think no, I didn't send that to you. I sent it to another group. But, and coaching with me, I'm putting in air quotes, but coaching with me, all that you need, because I want to make you successful, right? That's what I'm doing. I have an Orion doing this right now. At that time in my life, this is what I'm doing. I'm having fun. I love it. I'm only busy half the day, Ahmad. I mean, to me, I'm still quasi-retired. I mean, I only trade the first couple hours typically. I take, a couple hours when I'm half watching trades and half doing stuff I need to do for DTS. And most days, half the day, I'm just goofing around. So I really try to take pride in doing that. And I think you can tell I'm sincere about it. And again, You go to a lot of places, and I don't know anymore because I don't pay attention to other people. I mean, I don't listen to them. I don't get their emails, so I could be talking about things that are ghosts these days. I just focus on me. I could care less about any other place or any other thing. Wish them well, that's great, but I know a lot of other places that have had it where you cannot see the other people here, and you cannot see their comments, right? Have you been to places they still do that? I assume. And some rooms allow you to put fake people in with fake comments, bots. So that's not here. I just open it up. If somebody has negative to say, let them say it. I'll address it, deal with it, whatever it is. So like I said, in all these events, you have people that have learned from me, have been in the room, whatever it is, and if there was ever a negative comment, they're free to make it. Nothing's stopping them, right? Somehow I want to get a robot joke in there, but I don't know how to do it. There's Robert too. How come there's people from the seminar program here? I don't need you here. You're welcome, and feel free to email me. I'm sure you can find my email somewhere if you have, other questions about anything or whatever it is. Okay. So for the rest of the people that are newer, website, free stuff page, you're already here. You're a free member. You wouldn't be here. Okay. And then there's free subscription. I'm not going to go through them, but there's subscription services, a trading room, a long-term trader, and daily market letter. Blah blah blah. Hey, thanks for the question about it. Anybody else have any questions? You're really a long delay. It's been 8 years. It's been a long time. Anything else? All right. Looks like we're good. Look at that, boy. We're right on schedule. 5:31. We're done with number one, and 6:02. We're done with number two. All right. Well, the next free event for people, we have Labor Day weekend coming up, and then Thursday evening you will get notices about it. I'm going to do a condensed version of the intro class in preparation for Super Saturday. I'm looking forward to that. So we'll see how that goes, and maybe we'll have a few new people in the seminar program for that. Take care, everybody. Have a good night. We'll see you in the room if you're in the trading room.